I was 9 years old, and I was at temple with my parents. It's not funny. Towards the end of the service, the rabbi leads the congregation in a prayer called the Mishaberach, which is the Jewish prayer for healing the sick. And before the prayer starts, the rabbi looks around the room, slowly making eye contact with all of the members of the congregation along the way. And when the rabbi looks at you, if there's someone in your life in need of healing, you stand up and you say that person's name out loud to the congregation, whether it's a friend, a family member, a coworker, sort of a way of dedicating the prayer to the person that you're thinking about. And on this particular Saturday morning, there was someone in my life in need of healing. So when the rabbi looks around the room and his eyes eventually meet mine, I stand up and I bow my head and I close my eyes and I say, "Professional wrestler, Cactus Jack." You see, 2 weeks earlier, I was sitting in front of the TV, mesmerized, as my favorite wrestler, Cactus Jack, was engaged in this brutal match against notorious bad guy, Big Van Vader. Now, Vader had these huge frying pan-sized hands, and he was known for his signature move, the power bomb, where he would squeeze his opponent's head in between his Herculean thighs, and then he would lift him up by the waist, only to just throw him back down onto the ground, onto his shoulders and back. And at the end of this particular match, Vader powerbombed Cactus Jack onto the cold concrete floor. The episode ended with a passed out Cactus Jack being helped backstage and a very freaked out 9-year-old Jeff watching from home. But things got even worse from there for Cactus Jack. See, the next week in the following episode, we learned that Cactus Jack had disappeared and he was living with a group of homeless men in Cleveland. See, he was suffering from amnesia due to the power bomb. He had forgotten that he was a professional wrestler and now believed that he was a seafarer who had drifted ashore. And he'd forgotten about his wife and son as well and had taken up with a new girlfriend on the streets of Cleveland named Bang Bang. So as you can see, as you can understand, I was justifiably distraught. But to anyone in this room who doubts the power of prayer, know this. The week after I prayed for Cactus Jack's healing at Temple Har Shalom, he made a miraculous return to the ring with a surprise attack on Vader, exacting his revenge and settling the score once and for all. You see, Cactus Jack, he wasn't the most conventional choice to be a 9-year-old boy's favorite professional wrestler. There were cooler and flashier options out there like Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker and The Ultimate Warrior. But the thing, you know, having Cactus Jack be your favorite professional wrestler is kind of like having Hufflepuff be your favorite Harry Potter house. But the thing that I loved about Cactus Jack was that he was just willing to try anything. He was totally fearless. I once watched him get hit over the head with a baseball bat that was wrapped in barbed wire. I watched him get body slammed onto a wrestling mat that was littered with thumbtacks. I watched him get thrown into a turnbuckle that was loaded with C4 explosives. I mean, the guy was a maniac. Now, there's nothing uncommon about a 9-year-old boy who loves professional wrestling. What's a little less uncommon is for that love to persist through middle school and all the way through high school. But there I was in 9th grade joining my high school's wrestling team. And my logic, of course, was airtight. I figured that years of watching professional wrestling on TV would make me a natural. Well, it turns out that there isn't much similarity between high school wrestling and professional wrestling, aside from the spandex. But I tried to find sort of small little ways to make high school wrestling a little bit more like professional wrestling. Whenever my wrestling coaches would leave the room, I would immediately morph into my professional wrestler alter ego, Rezmo the Wrecking Ball. And I would bait my teammates into staging these elaborate professional wrestling style matches with me. And during one of them, I actually let one of my teammates powerbomb me. Now, I've never actually been hit by a bus before, but I just can't imagine it feels that much different. When I went to college, I decided that it was time to quit wrestling cold turkey, that, you know, maybe instead I would, you know, date women. And I stopped watching wrestling. After a while, stopped thinking about wrestling, and, you know, I really did move on. 11 years went by. Rezmo the Wrecking Ball was dead. And then, on one cold winter's day, late this past year, I was walking downtown, and something said to me, "Jeff, look up, there's a sign." And I looked up, and there was a sign. The sign said, Verizon Center. But then below that, it said, World Wrestling Entertainment, live in Washington, D.C. And it was coming up in just a few days. Now, all of a sudden, my heart starts beating real fast. My fingers, they start tingling. Rezmo the Wrecking Ball was back. And all of a sudden, it just didn't matter how many years it had been, I had to go. But this also created a bit of a dilemma for me because, you see, on the one hand, I was a little bit too proud to ask anybody to go to professional wrestling with me, but I was also a little bit too proud to go by myself. Around that same time, I had just started seeing a lovely young woman named Anna. And we'd only been on one date, but I had a really good feeling about her. So the question that I found myself wrestling with was whether or not to invite Anna to come with me. Now, truth be told, I was kind of hoping that her opinion of me would be a little bit more fully formed before I told her about Cactus Jack and Rezmo the Wrecking Ball. But like I said, this first date, it was incredible. And so, you know, I decided to throw caution to the wind, and against my better judgment, I asked Anna to come with me. And so it was that on December 28th, 2012, I walked into the Verizon Center to see professional wrestling live for the first time in my life on my second date with Anna. And guys, it was incredible. She cheered at all the right moments. She booed at all the right moments. We befriended these kids who were sitting near us, and, you know, they caught us up on all the new wrestlers and their storylines. I mean, she was having a good time. And as Anna and I parted ways that night, I couldn't help but feel like something special was happening, and that this obsession that I'd had for so long that I'd been sort of embarrassed about, it wasn't a liability at all, but it was actually kind of endearing. And as luck would have it, Anna and I, well, yeah, we never saw each other again. You see, the thing about taking risks is that chances are you're gonna end up flat on your back feeling like you just got power bombed. Now, some power bombs are big and literal, and others are small and metaphorical. But regardless of the size or the type or the manner of the power bomb, the recipe for how to get past it is always the same. You fake a little amnesia, you go hang out in Cleveland for a while, and then you get back in the ring. Thank you.